Zangpo, welcome to Bhutan e-learning. My name is Pema Khandu and this is an environmental science lesson, stage 5 for classes 11 and 12. In this lesson, we are going to learn about biomes, ecosystem, endemism, and adaptation. We are going to learn about different kinds of biomes found in and around the world, and we are also going to state what is biome. We are also going to illustrate different types of ecosystem, especially found in Bhutan. And finally, we are going to define endemism and adaptation with our local examples. Let us begin with asking a simple question. What is a biome? A biome is a specific kind of plants and animals living together in a particular habitat with a particular climatic conditions. Broadly speaking, there are two categories of biome. Number one is the terrestrial biome and other one is the aquatic biome. For this class, we will only deal with the terrestrial biome. Ecologists have different sets of definition for biomes, and they have categorized biomes into different types. But for our lesson, we are going to learn that there are 10 prominent biomes found in and around the world, which includes taiga, tundra, temperate, subtropical, savanna, deserts, etc. As you can see in the figure, the desert is mostly prominent in the African continent, whereas the mountain biome is mostly confined to the eastern Himalayan region, which includes Bhutan, Nepal, certain part of India. And the tropical rainforest is mostly confined to in and around the equatorial region, including peninsular Thailand, some part of Malaysia, and most part of Brazil. For today's lesson, we will discuss about three different types of terrestrial biomes with regard to forest types and zonation in Bhutan. Those are subtropical, alpine, and temperate. So we will confine to only these three types found in Bhutan.
Right now we are standing almost at 3000 meters above sea level and we are into a temperate forest. This temperate forest is considered as one of the world's largest, second largest biome, which covers around 25% of world's forest cover. Temperate forest annually receives around 75 to 125 cubic centimeters of rainfall, and its temperature ranges from around negative 30 to 30 degrees Celsius. This temperate forest, as we can see here, is characterized by different types of plant species. If we start, we have a ground species, as you can see here, Lycopodium, and other ground species we can find here is a viola, some pteridophytes, fern plants, and we can also see shrubs, a deciduous shrub, for example, like a verbenum, as we can see here, and daphne that had already started flowering, and we can also see rhododendron species, and and there are also a presence of evergreen trees like spruces. And in addition to those species, we can also find mosses. If you look at here, hanging from the branches of these shrubs, and along with this we can also find the lichens. So these are some of the plant species, different types of plant species that that are present within the temperate forest.
The temperate biome is not only rich in terms of plants, but it is also diverse in terms of animals. The most dominant wildlife species found in this biome are the deer, reindeer, the Himalayan black bear, and squirrels. It is also rich in terms of avian species such as songbirds and other migratory birds. To give name of some of the birds that are found in this biome are the blue-fronted redstart, the nutcrackers, and barbets.
Tagala lies at the altitude of about 3,600 meters above the sea level. And basically, if we look around, we can see the trees disappearing as we go above. So that is an alpine zone. If you look around, the vegetation, which may not be visible just now, however, the plants available or present there are junipers, birch, and rhododendron. Basically, the rhododendron dominating the vegetation. Apart from that, some birds found there are the Himalayan monal, blood pheasant, and other birds like Tibetan snowcocks are also seen there. The animals found there are snow leopard, musk deer, and lynx. So that is basically a small representation of alpine zone in Bhutan. The alpine zone experiences a kind of harsh climatic conditions. The temperature is usually below -10 degrees Celsius during the winters, and also it is colder during the summer, and it receives a very low or less rainfall. Basically, because of that, we see the vegetation is mostly herbs. We don't see trees growing around because of the colder temperatures.
As you can see, the subtropical forest, like the tropical forest, is characterized by the presence of three distinct layers of the trees. Up in the top, you can see a big and tall trees with wide branches and leaves, so that forms the canopy. Under the canopy, you will find another layer of tree which is called as understory, and they are still in the stage of growing up to become the canopy tree. On the ground, you will find the ground cover. So the ground cover has thick litters which provides nutrients for the growing plants. You will also be able to see the smaller plants in the form of seedling, and the pteridophytes are also present as ground cover. Let us now look at the subtropical forest. Subtropical forest in Bhutan ranges from 150 meters in the southern foothills to 2000 meters above sea level. The subtropical forest, like the tropical forest, has a rich biodiversity. There is the presence of rich biodiversity because of the favorable climatic condition. This region of the forest usually receives high amount of rainfall with longer growing seasons for the plants. Therefore, you will find a wide range of plants and animals occupying this region of the forest. The plants such as Chima, Dobanga grandifolia, Castanopsis, Ficus, Lithocarpus are found in subtropical forest. You will also find huge numbers of wild animals, including birds. You will find animals such as rhinoceros, buffalo, elephants, deer, tiger, and many species of birds such as hornbill. So the reason for existence of wide variety of animals in such a zone is because they get enough food throughout the year.
Now we are going to learn about endemism. Many plants and animals show endemism. So here we will try to understand what is endemism with a set of local examples. End of session 3.
Not all the plants and animals are found distributed all across the region. Of course, there are some plants and animals which are found growing and distributed in equatorial region as well as in the higher altitude. So these are the species showing wide distribution range. But there are some plants and animals which are found living and growing in a particular area, such as one island or in one region or in one nation. So those of the species which are found growing in particular area are called as endemic species, and these ecological state of the species showing confinement to a particular area is termed as endemism. In Bhutan, we have some plants and animals which are not found anywhere. For example, some species of toads and some species of catfish are also found only in Bhutan. Then on the other hand, we also have the plants. You may have heard about rhododendron. Did you? So you should know that in Bhutan, we have already a record of at least 46 species of rhododendron. Of that, the rhododendron kezangi and rhododendron bhutanese are found only in Bhutan. Similarly, our national flower. Do you know what is our national flower? Blue poppy. So there are different types of blue poppy, but the national flower of Bhutan is a species called Meconopsis gakidina. So these plant species are found only in Bhutan. So now what is the importance of knowing all this? So endemic and endemism requires protection and conservation of the nature biodiversity. For instance, if you destroy the habitat in which the rhododendron kezangi is growing, then you should know that nowhere in the world you will find rhododendron kezangi. In the same manner, if you destroy the habitat in which the Meconopsis gakidina is growing, then you will never find Meconopsis gakidina anywhere in the world.
Okay, here we are going to learn about ecosystem and its types. As you have already learned that ecosystem is the interaction of biotic and abiotic components. Biotic components include living things like plants and animals, whereas abiotic components includes non-living things such as rocks, water, air, etc. Biota or biotic component consists of all vegetation, including the tallest tree to the smallest algae, and all animals, including the largest mammals to the smallest microbes. Now, ecosystem can be classified into two. The first one is the terrestrial ecosystem, and the second one is the aquatic ecosystem. Now, terrestrial ecosystem consists of forest ecosystem and agriculture ecosystem. For this class, we are going to learn only forest ecosystem with regard to Bhutan.
If you happen to drive from the foothills like Finsoling through the valleys of Paro to the highlands like Chilela, what differences would you see in the forest type? Do you think the forest of Finsoling is same as the forest of Chilela? The forest of Finsoling is completely different from the forest of Chilela. Based on the variations of the forest type, Bhutan's forest ecosystem is divided into three, namely subtropical forests, temperate forests, and alpine forests. In subtropical forests, you will find plants such as oak, teak, walnut, fig. And also in this region, you will find animals like water buffalo, tiger, and golden langur. For a temperate region or temperate forest, which ranges from 2000 meters to 4000 meters, you will find plants such as blue pine, which you can see surrounding me. At the same time, you will find plants like rhododendron, larch, and avocado. If you move further from temperate region, for a region that lies above 4000 meters, you won't usually find any trees. Even if you find trees, you will find in the form of shrubs there. And in this region, there will be lots of grasses growing. In this region, the animals like blue sheep, musk deer, and snow leopard reside.
We have seen many plants and animals interacting. But where do you find those plants and animals? I'm sure you know that some plants and animals are found in water, while others are found on the land. So these plants and animals interact together either in water or on the land. So those of the plants and animals living in water together forms water ecosystem, or in other words we call it as aquatic ecosystem. And for those of the plants which are occupying the land, it forms terrestrial ecosystem. For the terrestrial ecosystem, it can be broadly classified into two, as forest ecosystem and the agriculture ecosystem. So in the terrestrial ecosystem, you will also find the wetlands and the bogs. And right now we are standing near the Wangchu River. So Wangchu River forms one of the aquatic ecosystem. Generally, the aquatic ecosystem comprises of the rivers, the stream, the oceans, the lakes. But in Bhutan, we don't have the oceans. But what we have is a huge number of lakes. We also do have major river basins based on the record of Department of Forest and Park Services of Bhutan. So based on their record, we have Wangchu River, Punasangchu River, Mangdechu, Dangmechu and Amochu, which along with the lakes and other streams and springs provide water ecosystem to the living plants and animals.
Let's learn about adaptation. We all know that plants and animals have certain adaptive capability to exist in a different kind of habitat. This ability to survive or live in a particular kind of habitat with different sets of climatic conditions is known as adaptation. It helps them to enhance their fitness, which means they are able to survive well in that particular habitat. Adaptation has evolved through a period of evolution, as well as it can be learned. So learned adaptation, you have seen when you are flying in the road, you might have seen some monkeys coming and standing nearby the road, waiting for some passerby to give them food or feed them. So monkeys have learned that if they stand along the roads, they are going to get some food. So this is a simple example of learned adaptation. We are going to focus mostly on acquired adaptation, which has evolved over a period of time. So there are basically three kinds of adaptation, which are physical adaptation, biological adaptation, and chemical adaptations. So these are three kinds of adaptation. Let us try to see one by one. Physical adaptation is when the body of the animal or plant changes in response to its environment or conditions prevailing in that particular environment. For example, the yak has a layer of thick fat under their skin, and they also have thick fur. So this is an example of physical adaptation in terms of animal. You all have seen a pine tree. Now, in terms of pine tree, they have a needle-like leaves with thick cuticle. This modified leaf helps them to reduce transpiration, reduce loss of water through transpiration. The second kind of adaptation is known as biological adaptation. It is kind of adjustment made by the organism to meet their biological needs, like in search of mates, taking care and feeding their young. Let me give you an example. Peacock has very, very beautiful plumage in order to attract female ones. Likewise, in bird kingdom, many male birds show colorful plumage. It is basically to attract female for mating. The third kind of adaptation is chemical adaptation. This is an adjustment made by an organism to live in a particular habitat with different sets of chemical components. For example, I will give you a picture of this plant. This plant was taken from one of my field trips in Thailand. So this plant is known as Bantis, also known as pitcher plant. So they usually grow in acidic and very poor quality soil. But they have adapted to grow in that kind of soil because they can supplement the lack of nutrient, especially the nitrogen, by changing their mode of behavior from being carnivorous plant. So they tend to ingest insects, they digest the insects and derive required nitrogen for their proper growth. This is one of the interesting examples of chemical adaptation. We will see some more examples, yak and white-bellied heron. This is the end of fourth session. Now to summarize, I would like to ask you a set of questions. So we will try to answer together. Number one is, the ecological state of plants and animals showing confinement to a particular area is known as? What is your response? So it is an endemism. Endemism refers to ecological state of plants and animals showing confinement to a particular area. Question number two, name two species of plants endemic to Bhutan. Can you recollect? Let's see. So here are the two endemic species of plants, although there are more than 100 endemic species of plant recorded in Bhutan, but here are the two species, namely Rhododendron kezangi and Echinopsis danica. So these are two species of plants endemic to Bhutan. The third question is, pitcher plant is adapted to thrive in a poor quality soil because it has developed mechanism to derive nutrient from other sources. What kind of adaptation does the pitcher plant exhibit? So what is your response? So let us see the answer. So it is chemical adaptation. It is known as chemical adaptation. With this, I thank you all for attending my lesson. I hope to see you in the next lesson.